Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another super cool knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Vero Engineering Synapse XL. Oh my gosh. I'm a huge fan of the aesthetic, but I also like larger knives. Oh, this thing is absolutely right up my alley. Thank you so much to Nate who sent this in. This is a user. He actually included a note and said, I use this thing. You are welcome to carry it and use it as you please. And I did, Nate. I did. Thank you very much. It's always awesome when people let me do this. I carried this thing for a week straight. 6 days straight. I had this in my pocket. And I have a lot to say about it. I enjoyed it very, very much. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, there's a link down in the description. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Oh boy, Metal Complex is reviewing another knife that we can't get. Meh. I get that, actually. That is kind of frustrating. But let me remind you guys, I upload 14 times a week. No, I'm not making that number up. I've been uploading 14 times a week for the last year and a half. Every week, there are multiple knives that you can get. I like to cover knives that I think are interesting whether you can get them or not. How do you get your hands on this? You can go to the Vero Engineering website, sign up for email notifications, and at the same time, I would recommend going to his Instagram and following him there. You got to be quick on the draw. You can't sit and wait for these to fall into your lap because right now they're not going to. Maybe in the future, but these are very, very popular right now. So if you want to pick one up, that's your best bet. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the Synapse XL coming in at 8 points. I think I measured it in the Synapse review. 8.8 inches overall. Blade length, 3.8 inches overall. Cutting edge is coming in at about 3.5 inches. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. I did this one in the Synapse review, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up against the regular Synapse so you guys know exactly what type of difference you're looking at there. Synapse coming in at 7.25, so there you go. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and its little brother, the Ontario Rat Model 2? Yeah, this is a big boy. Let's make this a little bit easier to see here. There we go. Yeah, big boy, not a small boy. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3? Once again, bigger than both. Or longer at least. And last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. And its little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. Same, bigger than both. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness. This is fairly thick. Up against the Para 3. It's not insane, but it definitely is thicker, right? I mean, it's not quite what an XM18 would be, but it's definitely bigger. Absolutely. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is where I found it to be pretty surprising, actually. It is just a hair longer than the PM2 and just a little tiny bit thicker, but it's nowhere near as tall. In fact, it really isn't all that big of a deal in the pocket because of the way that it's shaped and because of the fact that the flipper tab is just not obtrusive, right? So, excuse me, there you go. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy. I know you guys are like, that pocket clip, does that come with it? No, that's an extra thing. You can buy it on the website sometimes when you order these knives. But no, the standard clip looks like this. The person who ordered this ordered it with that also Vero-made clip. And I imagine that that's also equally hard to get. Okay, so, oh, that's T9. I'm pretty sure all of the hardware, just like the Synapse, the standard one, pretty sure all the hardware is T8. 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 I did not get in there and check the hidden screw that's holding the pocket clip in. It might be T6, or who knows, maybe it's also T8. It looks like this thing, like the Synapse, the regular one, is also T8 across the board, which is great. I don't think this is going to be super difficult to take apart, so there you go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness because the blade stock is absolutely thicker than the standard one. In fact, I'll show you guys right now, these guys side by side. Yeah, this guy is definitely thicker than this guy. Considering the other one measured on my video at 138 thousandths, I'm going to guess that this guy's probably at least 150, maybe 155 thousandths. We'll find out. There you go. That's my measurement's 152, so somewhere in there, right? Materials, M390 blade steel, micarta, titanium. You can get different colors of micarta. You can get different finishes like satin for the blade steel. This is what the tumbled blade looks like. I love this. This is what I would choose. The satin finish blade, which costs more money, is also nice. And then you have some type of DLC, whether it's flat or tumbled DLC, I have no idea. Weight on this guy. I actually always carry knives and don't ever look at the weight so I don't judge it, right? I'm going to guess this thing weighs, I don't know, 5 ounces. Okay, it weighs 5.5. That is smack dab in the middle of my own preferences for weight. I do not care. It can be up to 6.5 ounces and I will carry it. But everybody's different, right? So it depends on who you are and what you like. Do with that information what you will. All right, let's go ahead and talk here. If you guys remember the review on the Synapse, the Gen 2, I was a little bit, I was like, oh man, this one's got a little bit of walk in the frame lock, right? Now I've handled the Axon, the Synapse Gen 2, and the Synapse XL now. I've handled 3 of them. The only one that had a little bit of walk, not lock rock, just a little bit of, it had some flex in the lock bar when I would push up and down on it like this, right? Zeke, who donated that knife, actually, made that clear to me. And so I thought I might be able to fix that by pulling down on the lock side scale and pushing up on the show side, frame actually is what it was, after unscrewing the pivot and the body screws and then screwing them all down while I hold it like that. The first time I tried that, it did not work. The second time I tried it, it did work. And still to this day, which it's really only just been a couple of days since I reviewed this, it's still locking up just fine with no walk. It's solid. It feels good, right? Almost any knife in existence you can wrench on super hard and get some feeling of play, right? But a reasonable amount of force up and down, left and right should not cause any walk. The reason I'm telling you guys this is because this one has no walk in any direction, no play in any direction. It is solid. And so is the Axon. That is definitely how they should be. And that is very satisfying. A little bit more surface contact, considering the thickness of the lock bar and the blade, but still, I was happy to find that was the case. Once again, fit and finish is excellent. Largely the same thing that I said about the Synapse. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have largely the exact same feelings about this guy as the Synapse, the standard one, except this guy has, it's really smooth. It is crazy smooth. I think it has something to do with the weight of the blade. But truthfully, the inside of the pivot also feels just a half step. I wasn't sure. I actually had to message the guys in my group where I get a lot of my lesser known information from. And I had to say, is the XL made by the same OEM, which by the way is Bestech? I said, this one, the XL feels crazy. I also messaged Vero Engineering and said, this is awesome. Like, your knives are great, but the XL is awesome. And they said, no, it's all Bestech. So I don't know what the deal is here, but I love the regular size Synapse. It's great, but this XL is wonderful. I prefer this finish way more than the satin. Everything feels so nicely knocked down. Everything's nicely. It's not sharp up here, right? The inside of the rectangle, which is also not sharp in the standard, hand rub satin finish, right? It just looks awesome. Ready to go, right? The cloudiness is from a little bit of use, right? M390 for sure. By the way, these are numbered. I didn't mention that on the Synapse review. Just fantastic. The blade, despite being thicker, it's also taller. So it does come down to roughly, as far as I can tell, it's about just as thin behind the edge. If one's thinner, this one might be ever so slightly thinner, but this guy is definitely sharp. It does glide through material with ease. I've got no problem with that. But the rectangle's a goat trap. That's a goat trap. Wipe it out. Use a cloth and wipe it out, just like you would do anyway with a knife right after you used it. I do not understand the complaint. And I keep pointing it out. It's a silly complaint. If you are using the same knife to cut, through your car engine, right? It's like, I got to do some maintenance on my car engine, so I got to cleave right through it. And you get motor oil and all this other crap on there. And then you're like, I feel like having some cheese afterwards, right? You might be thinking, somebody else made this exact example. Who was it? Nick Shabazz. Because he's right? I mean, like, clean your knife off. Don't do that and then eat. Clean your knife off. You're going to do it anyway. Also, probably 2 different knives between food and, cleaving your car engine in half or whatever it is that you're doing with your knife. Clean your knife off, right? It's not a big deal. That thing right there, that little rectangle, works perfectly for the reverse flick, and man, does it feel good because there's a lot of blade flying out of there. Absolutely. This thing is drop shut. I'd actually prefer that it wasn't so drop shut, but it is impressive, the smoothness of the action, right? It's not just drop shuttiness that I judge quality of action, it's how smooth and consistent it is when I'm feeling it, right? Like if I was holding onto the blade and somebody else was moving this part, I could just barely tell. It's really smooth. It's not bumpy or lumpy or anything like that. A lot of you are wondering, can it be front flipped? All right, here we go, right? Yeah, I'm at an angle, so bear with me. I practiced on this one a lot. Please let me get this on camera. There we go. It can be done. It's much easier to do when you're not working with this amount of space, right? Yes, it can be done. I don't know that it was intended because this area of jimping probably would have been sticking up a little more and may have had a little horn right here if that was going to be the case, but it can be done, right? The flipper tab is definitely the best way to deploy it. It works perfectly. I'm happy with that. All of this, great. Fit and finish, where the lines meet up, everything is excellent. This is some precision machining. The micarta looks fantastic. I will say though, I do not know if he makes a full titanium version of this. I like micarta, but you guys know how I feel about the all one color monochromatic titanium look. I just love it. If he did a solid titanium frame lock version of this knife, what is wrong with my lights? For the love of all things that are good. Oh, I turned it back off. Anyways, the thing has a timer, so I must have hit 4 hours. It happened in the other review as well. Anyways, if there was an all titanium version of this, I'm actually still considering, by the way, right now, I'm actually considering trying to get one of these because I really like this. But I'll tell you what would make the decision for me is if there was a full titanium version. I would be like, it's bought. It's bought. Just tell me where to go and what to do and how long to wait, right? It's bought. This one, I'm kind of like, ooh, I really like that, right? Anyways, backspacer on this guy is the Timascus, which again, it's going to cost you more money, and I think it's definitely based on availability. You have to get lucky with the knife, and you probably have to get lucky with the options here too. Same thing with a pocket clip. Timascus, very beautiful. It's got a hidden screw that's holding it into place, and it is recessed into the micarta. Fantastic. Lock bar insert, doubling as the over travel stop, and honestly, so does the micarta, so you don't have to worry about that. The blade is perfectly centered, absolutely laser perfect, and there is no blade play up, down, left, or right. What is the base price of these? This exact knife, right, aside from the clip and the backspacer, which by the way generally look like this and this. So you'll have to imagine those two on this knife. What you're looking at right here, tumbled finish and micarta, starts out at $345. That's $20 up from the base price of the Synapse 2, the new one, the smaller one, right? Yeah, I'll happily pay that, definitely. I'm kind of, it's amazing to me that this one's only $20 more, and I'm not saying like because it's bigger, it's more money, right? Because size equals value, right? Big knife equal, expensive. Pay more money for big object. Small object, no, not pay money for because small. I'm using a caveman voice because that's a caveman way of thinking. No, it doesn't matter how big or small the object is. It matters, how much time and effort went into it, what it costs to create the item. Some tiny items cost way more to make than some big items, right? Some people might make the argument, well, the big items are way more useful for me because I'm big and I got big hands and I do big things and I cleave my engine in half with my knife, so I can't do that with a small knife. Okay, that's weird. But it's your perspective is not shared universally. It depends on the person, what they value, what they're going to do with it, right? Their system of value. Factually, certain things cost more money to make than other things. Am I suggesting that this knife costs a little bit more to make than the smaller one? I don't know. It might have a little bit more machining in it, right? Since we are talking about something from the same family that is just more of the same material made in the same way, maybe it does have a little bit more machining in it, right? I don't know. What I will say is that this one, for whatever reason, feels head and shoulders above the Synapse 2, even though this thing, I would give this knife an A, right? This knife, Christmas Story, A++++. Yay, Ralphie, right? Yeah, this is excellent. I love this. Pocket clip, like the other one. It's further down because of the length of the blade, right? If you choke up, it's not so bad. But if you're holding it in this area, which, by the way, this is nice and ergonomic, nice and knocked down. It's nice to choke up on, even though this is not a dedicated choil, right? It's just a flat area that's been knocked down. It's pretty comfortable choked up here. That pocket clip is a ways from, the irritatable part of my hand. Down here, I can feel it a little bit more. On this one, I think the pocket clip is the right size. It obviously goes with the knife. I just wish that the whole knife kind of has this squared off design. So if they did round the pocket clip, it wouldn't go with the design. The pocket clip is meant to match the body perfectly, and it does that. It does that really well. This line back here, this line, this curvature right here, right? And then the bill, the flat bill. It's just, it's perfect. It just, I wish maybe that it was a little, I want it to be rounded off for comfort, but I want it to stay like this for visuals, right? So that's kind of a stupid critique. It's like, what are you saying? You're not offering a solution, you idiot. I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens, right? It's a dumb part of my brain just saying words. Anyways, I'm a huge fan of this. This is going to be too big for some people. It's going to be too heavy for some people. It's going to be illegal for some people, right? Some people are just going to hate the look of it. All right. Do I think it's worth $345 at base to try and get this knife? You bet. This is absolutely going on my recommended knives playlist. And you know what? I like it so much. It's going on my favorite knives of all time playlist because I mean that. This is one of my favorite knives of all time. This looks awesome. It feels awesome. It feels super high quality. And I think $345 is a totally reasonable price for this. Even though you can get micarta and titanium and M390 from this brand for less. Well, that brand is taking those materials and not putting them together in the same way as this, right? I have never felt a knife in that territory, right? If we're going to talk about a $145 to $200 knife using the same materials. I have never felt something in that price point using those materials that has felt as high quality as this. I will gladly pay nearly $150 more to get something that feels this good versus something else that's not using the same material, that is using the same materials and not the same level of attention to detail, precision machining, fit and finish, right, smoothness, all of that stuff. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. I'm not saying that what my beliefs are factual, right? My value system is absolute and that it should be shared universally. No, I'm just saying I'd rather go with this. This feels better. It's cooler, right? I get it. It's also really hard to get. And I know that's frustrating. Sorry. Anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Thanks again to Nate for sending this in. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.